Hey there, health coach. Thanks for tuning in today. So today I'm going to share with you my top 5 coaching pet peeves. So these are pretty common newbie mistakes that I hear new coaches making over and over and over again. In the work that I do for the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, IIN, and through teaching my own health coaching course, on a regular basis, I'm listening in to somewhere between 20 and 40 coaching sessions each week and providing feedback to new coaches. So I hear a lot of the same newbie mistakes. So today I want to share these top pet peeves with you and give you some tips for what to do instead. So my first pet peeve is about language. I hear so many coaches responding to their clients with "I like" and "I love." For example, just after a client speaks, the coach responds with something like, "I love that." Or it could be in a response to an idea or an action, something like, "I like that idea." "I love that for you." Also going along with that is the "I thinks." So I think that's amazing. I think that's a great idea. I think. So the first thing I want to say about this is that most coaches don't even realize that they're doing it when I point it out to them. It's kind of like a default response that they use in everyday life. And I also want to acknowledge that this is coming from a good place. The coach wants to be supportive and cheer the client on. So what's wrong with saying things like "I like," "I love," or "I think"? Well, the first problem is that it's I language, which we do try to avoid in coaching. We want to keep things really client-centered. So I language makes it all about the coach, me, right? It's about me. And it's usually about my opinions and my preferences. And to be honest, in coaching, it really isn't about what me, the coach, thinks, loves, or likes. So what do you do instead of that I language? Well, first, I just encourage you to just try to be more aware and start to notice your language and sort of those default automatic responses that you have after the client speaks. And then instead of responding with a phrase that starts with I, start it with something more client-centered. What I just heard was, what I'm hearing is, it sounds like, something like that, which will help reflect back what you just heard the client say. So my second pet peeve is when no agenda is set for the coaching session. This happens so often. The coach asks about how the client's week went, how they're doing, how their action steps were, what's new and good, and then they just launch into coaching from there. They're really just picking up on what the client shares and they run with it. So the problem with this is that the coach is actually determining the agenda for the session, right? The topic. And they're basically just assuming that since the client shared something, that's what they want to focus on or talk about today. So what I invite you to do instead is to just take a few minutes at the beginning of the session to actually set the agenda. I've done a whole other session video on this, so you can check that out. But ask the client what they want to focus on, what they want to be coached on today. What is the topic they want to discuss? This only needs a couple of minutes, but it's really important that we keep it client-centered, and this is also going to bring lots of focus and clarity to your coaching session. So my next pet peeve, number 3, is that once the agenda is set, I see many coaches just jumping right into the solution. I did an entire video on this a couple of weeks ago. So it's our natural instinct to want to fix the problem. So once we identify the problem, I hear coaches asking, "Okay, so what do you think you could do about this? What have you already tried? Or what are some ideas that you have to fix this?" But if we jump into action too quickly, we're actually missing out on the opportunity to do a lot of great coaching, which is to explore the problem, which can really help the client tap into their motivation for change. And it can also increase their chances of success and positive outcomes. So please ask some follow-up questions after the topic, the focus, or the problem has been identified. So you could ask things like, "Tell me how this is affecting you. How is this impacting your life? What are you noticing as a result of this issue?" So if you want to learn more about how to fully explore the problem before jumping into a quick fix, please check out that other video that I have for you for the full process. So my next pet peeve, number 4, is coaches telling and suggesting. Of course, we all know as health coaches that we should not be suggesting and recommending to our clients. We want to help them come up with their own ideas, their own actions, so that they will be more successful. They're the experts in their own lives, right? Not us. So I see this happening a lot with coaches who are coming from backgrounds such as medical professionals or experts, things like counselors, nurses, dietitians, educators. So they were in previous roles where they were the expert. They were providing advice, suggestions, recommendations. They were telling people what to do. So it is definitely a really tricky transition for those types of folks to switch into coach mode. But as health coaches, this is really what we need to do. We want to hold back on those suggestions and recommendations. Always ask your client first. Elicit from them what they know or would like to try. What ideas do they have? Your client will always come up with a plan that is more reasonable, doable, and more aligned with them and more appropriate to them than you could ever come up with. And then my final pet peeve, number 5, is having a weak ending to the session. I hear this all the time. So to be fair, many coaches simply run out of time, especially in the 20 minutes that I'm usually listening into, and they have to end the session without fully completing. But if you have 45 or 50 minutes with your client, please plan to leave at least 8 to 10 minutes wrapping up. Things I commonly hear coaches asking at the end are things like, is there anything else you want to discuss today? Which is not a great question when you're out of time. Then I hear coaches asking, do you have any questions for me? No, again, we're not the expert. But when we ask this question, we're setting us up as one, right? So it's the coach who has the questions, the client has the answers. So don't put yourself on the spot to have to answer questions and give recommendations. So instead, at the end of the session, I invite you to complete with these 3 steps. Number 1, ask the client what their takeaway, insight, or their learning was from the session. Number 2, provide them with some acknowledgement, recognition, or affirm them in some way. And finally, ask if they're complete for the day. So I hope by hearing my top 5 health coaching pet peeves, you can be more aware of these common pitfalls and learn to avoid them, and try to include some more effective coaching skills that will really elevate the coaching experience for both you and your clients. I'm happy to answer any questions in the comments that you have about these top 5 pet peeves. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Bye for now.